Coach, would start out, how's spring practice going? And, anything stand out to you as to what's been good and progress this team's making in the off season?
Yeah. No, spring's been great, actually. We've had really early mornings, and I think the guys have responded extremely well to it. You know, we've got a young crew that's able to get a lot of good reps, and I think what's showing up is that you've got guys that have already gotten a lot of reps on the field the last couple years, and you can see their confidence and how fast they're playing right now. And then being able to get some of the younger guys some more reps this spring, I think, has really helped those guys out. So demeanor is great. Guys have really stepped up, and there's just a lot of good energy. And I think, with the upcoming spring game, I think it kind of sprinkles a little bit more added inspiration and motivation when they come to work every day. And, I think the focus has been really good for guys to be able to just, stay locked in on what we're doing.
Are you guys kind of building up to the spring game, knowing you're going to have another team on the field this time around, which I think is different from years past?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of it's a balance where you want to stay focused on what you're doing, stay focused on your fundamentals, and making sure that you got your install and the things that you want to still get accomplished in spring, and then yet really having an opponent that you have to adjust to because they're going to do something different than what you're seeing every day. And so we're just, making sure that guys don't get too worked up about it, but yet, hey, it's an opportunity that we get to test ourselves. We get to show what we've been doing all spring, and be able to go out there and put on display, how we've improved. And I think we have a really improved team here this spring. I think the product that we have right now is a lot more sharper and cleaner and more confident than what we've seen in the past.
Is this the first time you've scheduled a spring game with another team? How did that come to be?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, the NCAA allowed Division II to be able to scrimmage against another opponent in the springtime, and I think especially up here, it's hard to get somebody. Text the closest. We're probably not going to do that, and then Duluth is really the next closest Division II team for us, and they actually did it last year against Bemidji State, and it worked out really well for them. And when Coach Weezy, floated the idea to me, I thought it was really timely for us to be able to take advantage of it. I think for us, guys were just excited to get a chance to prove ourselves again, and for them to want to, come over to our place and actually make it work, it just worked out really well for everybody. And it'll be controlled, and I think, both coaches, we kind of have ideas about how we want it to look, and I think, we've put together a good script to make sure that we get some live action and make sure that we're playing really competitively against each other, and yet not overdoing it and putting guys in harm's way either. So, yeah, it'll be new for everybody. Obviously everybody wants to come away with, no injury situations, but you're playing college football. I think it's an everyday risk that you take, regardless of what you're doing for the last practice and whether it's against another opponent or not. So looking forward to it being really, really good, and I think it'll be really good for our guys to be able to be against another different color of jersey.
Year three, which kind of goes along with the question of year two. How further along are you at this point than the previous 2 years?
Yeah, I was thinking about it here this week. Last 2 years, I think, have felt like we don't have much experience to pull from. We don't have a whole lot of guys that have been on the field for years that have banked up reps and banked up the maturity and banked up just the physicality to go out there and, put a well-rounded team on the field, right? And I think we're finally getting caught up to that, where you can see glimpses where the maturity has taken place, the experience has taken place. Guys are more developed physically, and you're seeing leadership that's kind of kicking in. And so, there's a lot of dynamics that are just coming to the table now that you haven't had in the past. And when you get more and more guys doing all of those things and are being able to be developed into those concepts, it bodes well for the whole entire team. So I expect us to be much improved, and I think we're just really ready to turn a corner here in year 3. And that's my expectation. I think that's what our guys' expectations are, and they're really working hard to try to do that.
In terms of starters, is it all up in the air? Is everybody still auditioning for something?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think there's a lot of guys that are kind of in the driver's seat where they might have, been starters last year and they come into the spring and they're able to build on that. But we would say as a staff that, every day you're competing and, there's guys that are out there that need to win jobs and there's definitely jobs that are open. We were just talking about as a staff, there's some older guys that have gotten some starting opportunities these past couple of years that they're in jeopardy of losing them just because maybe they've taken that for granted. Maybe you got younger guys that are a little bit more talented or, showing what they can do. And so, everybody's got to continue to stay sharp and keep their edge to them. I would say there's a lot of jobs open. I think we're going to take the whole entire spring to just look at the total body of work from everybody and, make decisions based on that. But, right now, I think we're trying to make sure that we make it as competitive for everybody as possible every day so that we can keep the edge for everyone.
I don't think we've talked to you since signing day of this freshman class you have coming
Yeah.
in the fall. What excites you about it? It's not as big of a group.
Yep.
Right? It was around 30.
Yep.
What excites you about the group coming in, and do you expect them to be on the field as much as last year's freshman
Right.
were?
No, I think the exciting thing is you put together 2 seasons like we did, and you're able to still get a group of 30 guys that you feel really good about. And, I think we addressed some situations where we had to get some guys in here that had to address some depth, namely our receivers, right? I mean, we were extremely thin after the fall and had to replace a lot of guys. And so we're excited about those guys coming in to offer some help. But I think you're right. I don't know how many of these guys will actually be able to step in and play right away. I anticipate a handful. But last year, I think there were a lot more guys that were ready and probably offered opportunity for guys to step into places where they could get some playing time early. But I think just being able to put together 2 back-to-back classes that are really full. I mean, you go 40 plus 2 years ago, and now you go 30-ish here for this year. Really excited about just getting those guys in, and I think they're really excited to actually come and watch us on Saturday. There's going to be a lot of them here, and excited to just plug in and be around our guys and just see what we're doing, and it'll be exciting to have them around here.
I'll ask the dreaded question. Transfer portal. Good, bad, or different for this particular group, or how is it working that way?
Yeah, we lost a few after the fall, and I don't know that it's just something where you're just in complete shock or anything anymore. I think it's a little bit expected, I think, for all programs. The more you talk to other coaches around the country, I think it's just a natural thing that's going on. For us, we were able to pick up a couple, going into the spring. And then I anticipate that, there'll probably be a little shakeout here coming after spring ball. And you have to kind of ride that wave again. And, you still got to look for guys to bring in as well. And so I think there'll be kind of some give and take there. I love our culture right now, though. I think our guys really, the ones that are here, they believe and buy into what we're doing. If guys go in the portal from our team, I think it's probably due to, a lack of them seeing the vision and the future for what their role can be, on our team. And obviously we got to continue to recruit the right guys that can come in and see that vision as well and want to be a part of that. And I think we've done a really good job to do that and bring the right ones in.
Sounds like a not so good day and a decently good day. That kind of described the weekend reasonably.
Yeah, for sure. So this weekend it's always really a challenging weekend, an emotional weekend, a lot of different things, because one of the reasons we're able to recruit so many Minnesotans is because we play Concordia St. Paul every year, and that they're in our conference. Our roster is about 80% people from Minnesota. So this game every year is big for us because when we're able to go there, we're able to generally either match or outnumber the number of Concordia St. Paul fans. All of our families are there, all of our people are there. And in the past, that's something we've always struggled with emotionally because we're not used to playing in front of like everyone we went to high school with and your whole high school team, your club team, all your family and that sort of stuff. And this year's team, uniquely, I think because we're the right combination of young and also very like emotional players, that we really let a lot of stuff get in our heads this weekend. And that Saturday game really hurt us because yes, there were some other factors, but ultimately we lost that game because we didn't have the heart to play hard enough because we got a little freaked out. And that was really upsetting, especially in front of such a good crowd. So many people turned out. It was really cool to see the support. We had a great gathering with all the parents and families after that game still, just because you lose doesn't mean you get to go and pout. But I do think I'm very glad that we have another game against Concordia St. Paul because I don't think we saw what we can do against them. They do have a really strong junior class, and I think it's been really cool to watch them grow over the last 3 years. I obviously play all of these teams and scout them infinite times because our conference is so small, and watching Susie Momsen, who's their best player, go from being smaller, not strong enough to kind of drive through people, but using like really good stick skills to get through stuff, to now she's just like a powerhouse and can just bully you if you're not ready for her defensively. And that's what she did to us. We were in that game if they didn't have Susie Momsen. So that was a little humbling, but also I think it's going to help us game plan wise and also make our team step up in a way that they just didn't on Saturday. And it was all of us. It was me too. I think it's a hard place to play, and we kind of gave into that. So glad we get to see him twice. And then St. Benedict's on Sunday was a lot of fun. So my assistant coach, Quinn Crandall, her dad is the coach of that team, Patrick Crandall. And he's a Minnesota legend. He's really good. He's a high school coach for over there. He helps run a really good club program there that we recruit from pretty heavily. And I hired Quinn because I know him. Like he was who connected me to her. So being able to play him was really fun. And St. Benedict's is going to be a very good Division III program. They're in their third year, and they're really growing. They're getting a lot of good Minnesota talent. So it was a really fun game for us. A lot of kids that know each other. Good to have people in the city, and also Crandall's a really good coach. So even though our athletic level is way higher than he has right now, it still was like a really good bounce back game for us to like show that we actually know how to do things, because maybe we didn't do that on Saturday. So yeah, but this is fun. Watching Quinn and her dad they're very similar in a lot of ways and very different in a lot of ways.
Concerns offensively from Saturday, only getting 9 through, just like how your attack is developing through the conference season here.
Yeah, we're struggling. I think a lot of it is we get uncomfortable easy. We really don't like to be touched, and we play a very physical game. And especially at Concordia, we knew this going in. The reffing, they're going to get there. They're going to let them bully you, and we kind of gave into that. But you're absolutely right. Offensively, we've not been productive in our conference games so far, other than Saginaw. So moving forward, and also like within that game on Saturday, we just have to figure out how to handle contact and handle pressure, because that's the main thing. Is like we're turning the ball over like we've never turned the ball over before. We have these young talented players, but when you come and they're trying to drive through contact, they're fumbling the ball. I don't know if it's fear, I don't know if it's physical weakness, but I do think it's something we can overcome just with a little more mental toughness, a little more toughness, and also just like more off-ball movement to create distraction so that we're getting more open lanes. But I am frustrated with our offensive performance right now just because we've never been inefficient before, and our sheer number of turnovers is pretty upsetting. So we are looking at this week of like, what can we do to kind of open space up, because we just have bodies in the way right now, and we're crowding each other, and it's really making defensively. I don't think CSP played out of their minds. I think Susie Monson did, but we really fell into just letting them bully us, and we can't do that. We have to spread the field out more. We play well with lots of space. In the last 3 games, St. Ben's is an exception. The last 3 conference games, we've really just crowded space, and it's been a really big problem. So that's what we're working on this week. Yeah.
Turning around to play Grand Valley again after coming so close here at home, second time in less than 2 weeks. Just what did you take from that game that you can kind of apply to this one on the road? And is there anything in their psyche, like you were so close, and them being at the top of the conference the last couple of years since it started? Just
Yeah, I think that
through that wall.
mindset might have messed us up this weekend. I think that we were overlooking CSP a little bit because we were like, oh, we just played Grand Valley so tight. Like, we're going to just roll over this team, and we didn't show up ready, and we weren't tough enough. And we made some mistakes offensively, especially that we weren't able to overcome. And I think looking into Grand Valley, the reason we had such a close game against them here is we took every rep seriously, and that is the hardest I've ever seen a team play since my second year here when we beat Concordia St. Paul for the first time ever in overtime. Like, that is the only comp I've ever had of how hard we played. And so we need to not expect to have a close game, not expect to have the lead we had in that game, and like fight and claw for every single thing in this Grand Valley game, because this is the greatest home court advantage you could ever have in the Dome, and we're going to be playing outside. We're playing on their turf. We have downstate refs, which isn't a huge factor, but it is just when you're outside, it's a whole different animal. So we need to show up and be ready to work. Like, this is an effort game. It's an energy game. It's a not giving up and toughness game. Offensively, we were able to be successful against them, but they play this lockdown defense where they force you towards baseline, and if you don't create space the way that we've been struggling with, you're going to drive right into that, and we're going to turn the ball over more. So we need to be able to produce in a different way than we did last time, because they're going to have scouted for it, and be able to make adjustments in game, because that's what killed us last time. Was they came out and pressured the same thing people have been doing that's made us struggle, and then we crowd, and then we can't score. So defensively, it's going to take every ounce of effort we have as humans, and then on offense, we just need to be smart and big. So I think they know it's possible because we just had this close game with them, but if they expect anything other than the hardest fight of their lives, we're going to have a bad time.
Comparing to basketball, how hard is it to try and figure out what's going to get called and what isn't going to get called between one match and another, depending on where geographically it might be?
It's pretty regional with lacrosse. We knew when you go to Concordia, the Minnesota reffing is very different. Those refs aren't allowed to ref outside of those areas, and they only do because that's the only, it takes so much time to get refs there. It's been actually a consistent problem. Whereas our downstate Michigan refs are doing Division I, Division II, NAIA, D3 games. Like, they're just seeing the game more. So we get way more consistent calls out of our downstate reffing crews, which is why usually those are the people we try to get up here, and it's who we're going to see when we go down there. So they're the most predictable. They call the game the closest to the way you see it at the Division I level, which is what we want. And it's really interesting that way. Missouri and Ohio both call it in really different ways to Minnesota and Michigan. You'll see some states allow way more body contact, some states allow way more stick swings, that sort of stuff. It just kind of depends who they learned from and what region they're in, because that style of play can be very variant. The IWLCA, the way refs are trained in lacrosse is very inconsistent across the board. It's all very regional based. Even the new ranking system is. So I think part of it's just growing pains because people are adding lacrosse like crazy, but it's really hard to add, certify, and train all of these officials really quickly. So we're having people that don't have a ton of experience, but we need them. So they're climbing ladders maybe faster than they would in something like basketball that's super competitive. And I think that's difficult, but it's important for our sport so that we can keep growing, to keep giving those people opportunities. You just hope that everyone keeps a really open mind when they're getting feedback, be that coaches or other refs, reviews, that sort of thing, because I do think the inconsistency in D2 kind of kills us, especially because our region is the geographically biggest region that makes the NCAA tournament. So our region includes the Colorado conferences and and the Missouri Conference and Ohio and us. So the reffing from the RMAC to the GMAC to the GLVC to the GLIAC is super different. And so when you go to, I've never been to the NCAA tournament, our program's never been, but even when we just go to the GLIAC tournament, getting those different refs is interesting. And it creates an interesting NCAA tournament makeup based on what I've heard. So I think I'm hopeful that the consistency will improve as more people become interested in being officials, because you do make a pretty good amount of money to come ref at Northern Michigan. So
Highlights from this past weekend, I know at least setting a school record is a pretty big deal. Just how you felt coming out of it with the entire team, and that to set a record is kind of a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really exciting, and that was in the prelim, and she just like shot out of the blocks, and I mean it was amazing. And I was around some of the other teams, and everybody was like, "Whoa!" They were just amazed at how quick she was. She just had an awesome race, and then in the finals she won also, so that was exciting. Crystal also ran really well in that event too, and they ended up first and third. So exciting event. But yeah, at least all her hard work. She's a senior, so definitely paying off. And I think she's motivated. Last year for NCAA Nationals outdoors, she missed by one spot by .01 seconds. So I think she's ready to make it there, and she kind of made her mark already, and she's just going to keep getting better the rest of the season. So be exciting to see what she can do. And then across the board, I mean, we had some great results. It was cool. It was windy, but even so, we had like 18 PRs and some top 10 changes on the list, and some wins, some podiums, some top fives against really good competition down there in a beautiful facility. So
How beneficial or important is it to have some leaders, some seniors like you mentioned, just setting the bar for the entire team? Does that make everyone kind of better as you go through the season?
yeah, for sure. And I think the athletes see these seniors, they've been putting in the work for 4 years, and all their hard work is really paying off. So yeah, and then Anna Larson in the 400 hurdles, I mean, she just ran. She's only like a second off of the NCAA provisional mark, so that's exciting. And that was on a windy day again, so exciting to see what she's going to do. But yeah, all of our seniors are basically stepped up, and either were in the top 3 in their events. So and great times, PRs, and performances. So it definitely motivates the rest of the group to see what they can do and keep working.
Conference is how many weeks away?
1, 2, 3, 4, 3.5.
I was thinking first week of May, right?
Yep, finals week. Yeah.
I mean, how much more tinkering can you do at this point? I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot of them in place already, but are there other positions up for grabs maybe?
Yeah, I mean it's still early, and I think because we haven't had that great weather yet, it'll still make our performances will keep moving up. But yeah, little bits, little things here and there, and like our steeplechasers, the only chance they get to jump into a water pit is at the meet. So every time we just work on those water jumps and each meet, so they'll have a few more chances. This weekend we're going to Oshkosh, which it looks like the weather is actually going to be like 58, sunny, and very little wind. So I know. So that's good. And then the following week, we're actually taking the top group to California there's like 4 different really top level meets that we did that last year, and give them a chance to compete against the best in the country. So Elise will get a chance to go against those top 7 or 8 that are ahead of her, which is usually when you go against competition that's better than you, helps pull you up to that next level, or at least see that next level and learn from that. So yeah, it's still little tweaks here and there, but it's amazing how just that little bit can just keep moving them up. And yeah, and then we'll do a meet for some of the athletes right before the conference, and then that's down at St. Norbert's. Anybody that needs last little tweaking, and then head down to the conference championships, which should be exciting. I mean, and then our throwers are doing well just across the board. We have Vilme, she's just she's here for just 2 years, and she's a javelin thrower. She was, and she already is like number 2 in the conference in javelin. So is one of our top. She's number 4 on our top 10 list for javelin all time. So that's exciting too. And our throwers, we really have in the past haven't always scored points in the throws, but we're at a point where across the board on the, there's a lot of 4 different throws in outdoor, so scoring some points there in the GLIACs.
I remember you guys going to California last year. Does that give them a little boost here in the middle of the outdoor season when you're fighting through or Midwest weather to get out
Yeah,
in the
it
sun?
really does, because a lot of years we here in the Midwest, we don't even get a meet that we might get this weekend. It's sometimes snowing or raining or windy, and there it's like every year, and it looks like it's going to be. This is of course 2 weeks ahead, but highs around 70 to 73 degrees and low around 55. No chance of wind, no wind. So so it's should be good. And yes, it does give them a huge boost. Those top level athletes, and to really see the top athletes from around the country, and a lot of our teams from around the Midwest go out there. So it's great exposure, I think, for Northern Michigan to be out there and just show the country kind of where we are and what we're doing up here.